Okay, so this story time that I'm about to tell you guys has been requested now for about 2 years. A couple of reasons as to why I apparently find it now appropriate for me to talk about it. Number one, I don't live in the same house that I used to when kind of this whole era of events took place, and then secondly, I'm out of content. So this is yet another video for you guys that surprisingly a decent amount of you have kept asking me for, like consistently every week, like someone I see is still talking about it. And another reason being, I don't know, at first, like I remember myself of course mentioning it to all of you, but I just didn't really find it necessary to. It's honestly stupid, selfish, all that, I get it, but I just figured some of you guys still want to get more insight on my experience in general, and you really don't care about any of that stuff, so I'm just here to, I guess, tell you. I don't know. If you guys are new to this channel by any chance, please make sure to subscribe for more content from me, and yeah, drop a like on this video if you enjoy creepy stuff like this. It's been a minute since I've talked about stuff like this, so I don't know. So to start this off, this all took place around, I think, age 10, 11, somewhere in there. Also, if I'm not like looking straight into the camera, it's not that I'm lying or anything, but this happened so long ago, and this was just the one and only time I actually used the Ouija board, so it kind of, I have to like continuously jog my memory to kind of spew stuff out, if that makes sense. It's gonna be somewhat a short story though, nothing too crazy. So when I was around 10 or 11, I would go to my cousin's house like consistently. This was almost every week, especially around the holidays. My birthday is in November, so between like Thanksgiving and Christmas, I spent majority of my time with my family and stuff like that. So I remember one of the nights, it had to be a little bit after Thanksgiving. I went to my cousin's house. It was the same old, you know, played video games, watched movies, just kind of hang around with them, you know, for the weekend. I remember one of my cousins at the time told me, you know, hey, there's this game that my parents play and only adults are supposed to play it, but I think I know where it is, and you know, we're gonna play that when everyone goes to sleep. And so I kind of kept that in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay, seems pretty interesting. And you know, at this age, you don't have any insight. Majority of the kids should not, but I didn't have any insight to like ghosts, Ouija boards, all that stuff. I remember seeing Paranormal Activity at their house. It was hilarious because we saw it in the basement, and there were like 12 of us just down there watching it. And then at the end, we had to open the door and walk back upstairs, but it was pitch black and everyone started running. Okay, yeah, you get it. Time has passed. A lot of, you know, my relatives end up going to sleep, and you know, me and 3 other of my cousins end up, you know, trying to go upstairs so we could play this game. So we make our way upstairs, and how the upstairs at my aunt's house was kind of situated was, you know, there was just a normal bedroom size, and that's where my cousin slept. And then there was a long master bedroom. Usually master bedrooms have like a wide space, but this was just like a long, almost like hallway type room. And in the middle, so like when you first walk upstairs, right in front of you is this closet, but the closet didn't have any doors to actually close. It just had a sheet that would hang down, and you'd have to, you know, peek behind the sheet to get whatever it is you need to get. I still at this time had zero clue on what I was getting myself into. Of course, I was a kid, so I didn't really think much of it. We end up going into the master bedroom upstairs, and as soon as you walk in, again, the room's long, so there was a couch right against the wall, and then the further you go down, you know, there's the TV, the lampshade, and then the windows all the way at the end. I remember there being like some sort of red candle that was lit in the back, and the windows I thought were open but weren't open at the time, but it was extremely cold in the room, which is already like, I don't know. So we go in the room, me and like 2 other of my cousins just sat on the couch. We're kind of just waiting, and there's a glass table in front of us. We kept the light off. You know, there was 1 candle in there. It was lit enough for us to just see where we were, and you know, the outside street lights and stuff kind of glaring into the window, so like we had enough light. So we're sitting down on this table, and you know, my oldest cousin is, you know, going to try and get the Ouija board, and it had taken us about 5 minutes to find it. I'm kind of just sitting there still confused as to like what's going on and what we're actually about to play. All I know is that, you know, adults are supposed to play this and that we're gonna play this adult game, and I was just hyped, really. They finally get their hands on the Ouija board, and I remember a couple of my cousins had to go and look for it with my other cousin because they just couldn't find it. So when we actually got the game, it ended up being a glow-in-the-dark Ouija board set. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen those, but like they'd have the planchette, and it's kind of like a green glow when you turn off the light. And to me, when I first saw it, again, a new game, I never heard of it. I just thought it was a board game, and they're sitting down. 2 of us ended up being on the couch, and the other 2 were kind of sitting like crisscross underneath the glass table that was on the other side. I don't know, I just remember it being like extremely cold in that room, and we don't remember the windows being open at all, which was, now thinking about it, already a red flag. Like, why is it cold in the room when there's heat all the way in the house? But then the room we decide to go in, is just cold. I don't know. I also remember my cousins kind of talking about like, okay, this game, we have to try and take it serious. You know, we got to be careful. And, you know, giving us all these like fake warning type signs. And I end up saying, I'm like, you know, why do you keep talking to us like that? You know, like, what is this game? Then I remember one of my cousins end up saying, you know, oh, we get to like talk to ghosts and stuff like that. And at the time I knew what ghosts were, but when I think of ghosts, I was thinking of like Casper the Friendly Ghost and, you know, just like white sheet figures, you know, just like kids type stuff. I wasn't thinking of like lost souls or like demons or nothing crazy like that. I don't know. So they end up opening the game. They attempt to read the instructions, but again, I was just there to play, so I really was not paying attention to anything like that. They finally unfold the board and we get the board on the table. They get the planchette and just kind of set it down in the middle. And I'm just kind of looking at it like, okay, so is this the game? Like, I just see letters. Like, of course adults play that shit because it looked super boring to me. So then my cousin tells all of us that we're supposed to put one finger on the planchette and then we're supposed to move it around in a circle and then start off asking questions. And I remember kind of just analyzing the board and I saw, you know, the sun and the moon, the yes and the no, all the letters, the 1 through 0, and then the goodbye at the very end. And so like the more they're somewhat explaining it, the more I'm kind of realizing like, oh, like we're trying to talk to ghosts? Like what type of shit is this? I don't know. I didn't really think it was real. So oh my god, dude. So we start playing the game and, you know, all of us have one finger on there. My cousins, a lot of them were around my age. You know, I'm 10, 11 years old. The oldest was like 13. The youngest was like, what, 9? So we're like really, really young kids sitting here playing this game that only adults are supposed to play, but we're so like infatuated by it. So oh my god. So again, you know, we're spinning everything, and as we're doing this, you know, my cousin's kind of spewing out more instructions or like rules we're somewhat supposed to follow since he saw, you know, his mom and dad play the game. When we started, I remember them asking, you know, just the basic questions like, you know, is anyone out there? Or, you know, like, hey, you know, can we talk to someone? Like, who in here died? And, you know, they kind of kept making somewhat jokes of it or mockery. And as of now, I know that's one of like the biggest things you are not supposed to do. At the time, again, I'm gonna keep reiterating the fact that I was only 10, 11 years old because again, I had zero inclination of this game, what it could possibly do, anything like that. I was just there to play. So we end up messing around a little bit too much because I remember all of us kept saying, you know, like, who keeps moving the piece? Who keeps moving the piece? And I know that one of the biggest rules is to never, ever, ever, ever play by yourself. It's better to have people with you because apparently it builds up more like of a defense, you know, if any spirits or whatnot are gonna try and contact you. So all of us kept complaining about someone moving the piece. So when we asked the question, we kind of just sat there. We asked, is anyone here? And I remember us just kind of sitting there. And again, my finger's just sitting on there. I have no idea what's supposed to be going on. I'm just waiting for whatever is supposed to happen to happen. And all of a sudden, you know, my hand starts moving towards yes, and everyone's kind of like laughing and giggling and kind of freaking out. You know, my cousins remind us like, shh, okay, be quiet, be quiet. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, whatever this is. And then as it's going to yes, it kind of slides back to no. Again, I don't know what was up with me. I thought everything was stupid. I thought this was like a boring adult game or something like that. And I wasn't having fun really. So this planchette's kind of just going all over the place. All of us kept making jokes and stuff like that. And like, we really weren't taking it seriously, which was not the best thing. So one of my cousins, I remember this vividly too, because now I know that you're not supposed to leave without saying goodbye, because whatever you tried to open like can not close, or like the portal to the spirit world or whatever, however it goes. They get up to go back to that closet outside of the room to look for something, and then we're all being like, you know, come back, you know, the board game said that, you know, you're supposed to say goodbye and stuff. And he was like, I'll be okay. I just know that we weren't playing the game correctly at all. I don't know if any of us had experience with it, but we were really being childish, no pun intended. We came back, tried a couple of times, and really nothing crazy was happening. You know, it kept sliding to yes, but we would all assume that one of us kept moving the piece. We're asking, you know, like, what's your name? And just, you know, simple questions, and going through different letters. I don't really remember if it did anything specific. I just know that we had minimal interaction. So we kind of just said, you know, goodbye, and then I remember all of us just kind of sliding across, and then that was it. We just kind of left the board game open. We left the planchette on top of the board, which now I know too, you're not supposed to do. Just like, what if it moves by itself? Or like, kind of like you're still leaving room for error or anything to come through the board or whatnot. So we end up kind of just sitting in the dark and talking more about the game, and I'm starting to kind of pick up on things more, and I'm starting to get a little bit more scared and nervous, and I just felt somewhat sick. You know, my cousins, I kept hearing one of them talk about how like, yeah, like you get to contact demons and like devil himself and all this stuff. And you know, me 10, 11 years old, I'm just sitting there like, oh, like y'all got me fucked up. I don't want to be in any part of none of this. Like, what is going on? The room was cold the entire night. I just want to preface that. It was still cold in the room. And at this time, we noticed that the candle was out. I remember telling my cousin like, oh, you know, when we first came in, hey, there's a candle lit in here, so you know, there's enough light, we should be good, or whatever we're about to do. And so it was funny because the window was never open, but since it was already cold and the candle went out and we all noticed it and kind of got startled, everyone's kind of assuming that, you know, the wind from the window is what knocked the candlelight out. But when we all go towards the window, we see that the window's closed. So now I'm in a state of panic and I'm kind of like, all right, yeah, we're done. Let's go back downstairs. Like, that's a wrap for the night. We all just kind of walk out there and left the board game open. I don't understand why they didn't put it away or do anything with it at that time, but I just remember us all just leaving the room, going back downstairs and kind of calling it a night. Now I kind of want to fast forward a couple of months from this event to where, you know, I'm back at my actual house, you know, just me, my mom, my dad, living at the house that I don't live at now. So months have passed since we somewhat, you know, played the game. I don't really think we followed any of the rules correctly. So a couple of months after, you know, we played the game, I'm just at home, still going to school, like everything's normal. It's just a normal schedule for me. And back when Christmas was around, I got a new piano. You know, I was really into playing the piano when I was little. I would always beg my parents and ask them for a keyboard. And then when they finally got me one, I was just the happiest kid on earth. We put it downstairs in our basement because that's where we had the most room for it. And it was one of the pianos that had the preset songs on it. So when you turned it on, you could play the keys, but at the top right, it would be a variety of different buttons you could push to like play the songs. And then like the little red lights on the keyboard would start playing the music. So yeah, after I got the piano, this is when I guess you could say activity started picking up. A lot of the times I would see myself waking up at 2, 3 a.m., you know, just going to the bathroom, trying to get water, just like small stuff. And in the process of that, I don't know if it was my mind playing tricks on me or if it was dead serious actually happening, but I swear to everything, I would hear the keyboard from upstairs playing on its own downstairs when no one's down there, the lights are off, the door is closed, but I'm just hearing the sound. Is my camera out of focus? Oh my God. Hold on a second. Yeah, so you know, I'm hearing this keyboard playing its own music by itself, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So the first night I heard that, I didn't say anything, went back to sleep, kind of just pretended like nothing happened. I didn't want to be involved. Sorry, the settings on my camera was acting up. So anyway, I'm hearing these noises from, you know, the basement. The piano's playing by itself. I'm not saying anything when it first happened. The second night comes, I'm going to the bathroom, and again, it's like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning around this time. And it's still ingrained in my mind that what I thought I heard last night was the piano playing by itself downstairs. So when I go to the bathroom, I think to myself, I'm like, oh, am I really trying to go to the kitchen to get some water? I go to the kitchen for a second, and I'm hearing the same melody again as I did yesterday, and I'm hearing this piano playing by itself. No one's downstairs. Absolutely 0 people are downstairs. The lights are completely off in the whole house for the most part, and I'm just hearing it. It's like someone turned it on, pressed one of the songs, and just is blasting it. And I'm like, is no one hearing this? So again, go back to sleep as if nothing happened, didn't say anything about it. Now what really scares me is when I heard my dad tell me that he heard something. So you know, the first 2 nights, nothing really crazy went on. I waited like a week or 2 and I didn't really hear anything, so, you know, I started to forget about it a little bit. My dad, on the other hand, one night decided to sleep in the basement. We had an extra set of couches there, the TV was there, the piano was in the back room, but again, it was still in the basement. He ended up telling me one of the nights, couple of weeks after all this took place, you know, I remember both of us were in the kitchen and he said, you know, hey Jason, were you downstairs the other night by any chance? It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, no, why? What's going on? He was like, I could have sworn I heard the piano playing, and you know, I thought you were in there making music, and you know, I didn't really say anything to you because you know it's the weekend, da da da. And my heart dropped. I'm literally sitting here telling him, like, I did not go downstairs for the life of me. I promise you, dude, I'm getting the chills. I didn't go downstairs at all. The fact that he was telling me what I thought I was hearing myself, so that just meant everything I heard was dead serious. He's sitting here, he's like, Jason, yeah, I could have sworn I heard you playing the keyboard, man. I was like, you sound pretty good too. You was playing a whole song. I was like, that was not me. He was like, I don't know, I must have been half asleep or something. I'm like, something else was playing it. I heard that 2 times like last week. He was like, what'd you hear 2 times? I was like, the piano just playing the music by itself. And he was like, oh, well then I guess we got a ghost in here, ha ha ha. And then I'm like, I'm sure we do. And it's funny because again, at the time, I only played the Ouija board that once, but I never thought that any of these events would relatively be tied to that at all, or that incident, or if anything followed us back to the house. I kind of just left all those things out of the equation because I didn't know they were connected in some way. So after that, I really didn't even play the piano. I let it sit for like months on end. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna just let it stay in that back room. It is what it is. Every night, sometimes I'd still be going to the bathroom like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't hear anything too crazy. I would just go to the bathroom, go right back in my room and go to sleep. Now, a couple of months pass again, and now it's around the summertime. So like May, June. And I remember around this time, there were so many thunderstorms over the summer. I don't know why. Hopefully it wasn't because of me, but it was raining a lot. And I remember one of the days it was raining, we lost our power and we didn't have our power for 3 whole days. I stayed at my cousin's house for one of the days, and the other 2 days we kind of just stayed at home. And around that time I had an iPod, so if it was charged, I had something to do, but it was really, you know, the lights were off. We're just there at the house. Me, my dad, and then my mom would come home from work and then she was with us as well. On like one of the last nights before the power came on, apparently both of my parents were upstairs in their rooms and I was in my room, but no one was downstairs. But my dad typically likes to be downstairs a lot, you know, watch football or sports. We had a flat screen down there, but I guess he was not down there at all. I remember being on my iPod playing like Angry Birds or something, I don't even remember. But I was just kind of on my iPod. I was in my room, lights were off, I had a flashlight, and you know, I was just minding my own business. And all of a sudden, I hear the basement door slam just out of nowhere. And I'm like, okay, is my dad mad? Like, what's the problem? Why is the basement door getting slammed? And so I remember getting up with the flashlight, you know, leaving my iPod. I went out in the hallway, kind of gazed downstairs. And oh, let me also point this out. The way my staircase went is that you would walk downstairs and then you would immediately turn, there was another door, and then you would walk again down another case of stairs to the basement. It was all kind of one spiral. So from the top of the staircase, I'm like kind of beaming the light down and I'm like, Dad, bro, this shit's so weird. So I'm like, Dad, you know, and I'm expecting a response. I'm not hearing a thing. I'm just hearing like little thumping sounds, but I don't know what it is. So I go in my mom's room and I remember just kind of walking fast to her room like, hey mom, did you hear any? And when I opened the door, I saw both of them kind of sitting on the bed, just hanging out, talking in the dark. And I'm like, wait, is my dad next to you? And my mom was like, yeah, he's right here, what's the problem? And I go in her room and close the door behind me and I tell them, I'm like, I promise to God, I literally heard the basement door slam as if dad was down there. And so my mom's like, what are you talking about? And my dad's like, what, you heard the basement door slam? I'm like, yeah, the basement door slam. I thought you went down there and slammed the door. And they're not really reacting crazy, which is funny to me because like, shit, I hear some ghost stuff, I'm leaving the house. But they're kind of just trying to wrap their head around what I was talking about, and I'm telling them, I'm like, bro, somebody literally slammed the shit out of that basement door and it was none of us. We're all upstairs. And we kind of just talk about it for a hot second. It didn't really escalate to anything else, you know. Parents didn't go check the basement or anything like that. That was its own incident on its own too. The fuck? So that, for the most part, sums up my experiences that I've had with the Ouija board. I literally only played it one time. Never again, because now that I've gotten older, I have so much knowledge behind it and what it could do, what you can manifest into this world. Not with it at all, period. So that, you know, whoever has fun with that, you can have fun with that. I advise people not to even mess with it at all. But if you choose to, you better follow every appropriate rule in the book to the T. Don't mess with that stuff because I don't play around. There is one more thing that I forgot to point out that I guess I could add. Right before I left that house, in 2015. April of 2015 is when I moved to where I'm currently staying. Before then, like a couple of months leading up to that, I remember a friend coming over, and when you first walk into my house, you're already on the main floor, so the door to the basement would be right there, and you could just walk downstairs, or you could choose to walk upstairs. So I remember coming home from school, and I let one of my friends come in for a quick second, and no one was at home. My mom was getting home later, and my dad was getting home even later than my mom. I go in the house, and you know, the sun's kind of shining still, no lights are on, but you know, it's just sunlight, so it's natural lighting. And our basement door was wide open. I remember both of us going upstairs, trying to get some water and just kind of scavenge the fridge for food and stuff like that. I remember running in my room to grab something real quick while my friend was still in the kitchen. He was like, Jason. I'm like, yeah. He was like, do you hear something? And I'm like, hear what? He's like, do you have a keyboard in here or something? And I'm like, bro, no way this shit is trying to happen again. Like, is he joking? I kind of just brush it off. I'm like, okay, I'm moving soon anyway. I don't got nothing to do with this. It is what it is. And so I remember going downstairs, assuming he was still upstairs. I just kind of left my room, followed his voice, went downstairs. And as I went downstairs, it started to get even darker. Like, there's not really blinds. The staircase kind of has its own set of walls, and you know, it's dark. I promise you, like a couple of steps before I got to the bottom, it felt like somebody pushed the shit out of me. I had my book bag on, but you know, I thought it was my friend messing around. I looked behind me, no one's behind me, but he is indeed in the basement. So I was like, bro, did you just push me? Like, I was just so confused, and he's telling me, you're like, no, I didn't push you. And I'm like, right. So ever since then, there's nothing that really went on after that. I ended up moving in April 2015 is when I left. From then on, I haven't had anything crazy happen. Sometimes when I'm by myself, I still get nervous only because like I'm very anxious. But besides that, it just is what it is. That's all I really have to share. I don't know why it took me so long to talk about this stuff. I guess I just thought it wasn't as interesting as you guys may have thought. And that's kind of selfish and dumb on my part. Like, it's free content. I know you guys wanted to hear, but I guess now you know. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this creepy little Ouija board story time. Thank you for the people who continuously asked me for it. You finally got it, so hope you guys do enjoy this. If you're new by any chance, please make sure to subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And like this video, let me know your thoughts. If any of you have had any experiences with this shit, because I don't know, I don't mess with ghosts, demons, no, none of that. That was the first and last time I ever would touch something like that. And yeah, it is what it is. I don't know. Like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until my next one, goodbye.